Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 5 and we will explain about the equivalent at word level. Equivalent at word level. 1. Lexical meaning. 2. Problem of translating at word level. 3. Idiom and other figurative language. 1. Lexical meaning. The lexical meaning of a word or lexical unit may be thought of as the specific value it has in particular linguistic system and the personality it acquires through usage within that system. Every word lexical unit has something that is individual, that makes it different from any other word, and it is just the lexical meaning which is the most outstanding individual property of the word. We can distinguish four main types of meaning in a word and utterance. Utterance being stretches of written or spoken text. 1. Prepositional meaning. 2. Expressive meaning. 3. Presupposed meaning. 4. Evocative meaning. Prepositional versus expressive meaning. Prepositional meaning. The prepositional meaning of a word or an utterance arises from the relation between it and what it refers to, or described in a real or imaginary word, as conceived by the speaker of the particular language to which or utterance belong. Example: the prepositional meaning of shirt is a piece of clothing worn on the upper part of the body. Expressive meaning. Expressive meaning relates to the speaker feeling or attitude rather than to what word and utterance refer to. Example: the difference between don't complain and don't whine does not lie in their prepositional meaning, but in expressiveness of whine, which suggests that speaker when action annoying. The meaning of a word or lexical unit can be both prepositional and expressive. Example: whine, prepositional only. Example: book, expressive only. Example: body and various other swear words and emphasizers. Presupposed meaning. Presupposed meaning arises from co-occurrence, restriction. Restriction on what other word or expression we expect to see before or after a particular lexical unit. These restrictions are of two types. 1. Selectional restriction. These are a function of the prepositional meaning of a word. We expect the human subject for the adjective studious and inanimate one for geometrical. Selectional restrictions are deliberately violated in the case of figurative language, but are otherwise strictly observed. 2. Collectional restriction. These are semantically arbitrary restrictions which do not follow logically from the prepositional meaning of words. For instance, law are broken in English, but in Arabic they are contradicted. In English, teeth are brushed, but in German and Italian they are polished. In Polish they are washed, and in Russian they are clean. Because they are arbitrary, collectional restrictions tend to show more variation across language than do selectional restrictions. Evocative meaning. Evocative meaning arises from dialect and register variation. A dialect is variety of language which has currency within a specific community of group of speakers. It may be classified on one of the following bases. 1. Geographical. Example: a Scottish dialect. 2. Temporal. Example: words used at different periods in the history of language. For example, merrily and really. 3. Social. Example: word and structure used by the members of different social classes. Example: skin and perfume, napkin and serviette. Register is a variety of language that a language use considered appropriate to a specific situation. Register variation arises from variation in the following. 1. Field of discourse. This abstract term from what is going on that is relevant to the speaker's choice of linguistic item. 2. Tenor of discourse. An abstract term of the relationship between people taking part in the discourse. 3. Mode of discourse. An abstract term for the role that the language is playing, speech, essay, lecture, instruction, and from its medium of transmission, spoken or written.
My name is Muhammad Al-Maafi. Right now I will explain about the problem of translating at word level. The problem of non-equivalent. Non-equivalent at word level means that the target language has no direct equivalent for a word which occurs in the source text. The type and level of difficulty posed can vary tremendously depending on the nature of non-equivalence. There's many types of common problem of non-equivalent. The following are some common types of non-equivalent at word level. So I will read in long definition so that you can see another common problem of equivalent. Culture-specific concept. The source language word may express a concept which is totally unknown in the target culture. The concept in question may be abstract or concentrate. It may relate to a religious belief, a social custom, or even a type of word. Such concepts are often references to as culture specific. Then, the source language word is semantically complex. The source language word is semantically complex. This is a fairly common problem in translation. Words do not have to be morphologically complex to be semantically complex. This is theory from Bollinger and Sears, 190-16-8. In the other word, a single word which consists set of a single morpheme can sometimes express a more complex set of meaning than a whole sentence. The target language lacks a specific term or eponymous. More commonly, languages tend to have a general word or superordinate, but lacks different specifics since each language makes only those distinctions in meaning which seems relevant to its particular environment. Then, different in form. This is often no equivalent in the target language for a particular form in the source text. Certain suffixes and prefixes which convey propositional and other type of meaning in English often have no direct equivalence in other language. Strategies used by professional translator. Other strategies and differences between source and the target are dealt with subsequent chapters. There are A. Translation by a more general word with particularly in area of proportional meaning. Example: today there are maybe more than 100 giant pandas live in the wild, restricted to a flow mountain strongholds in the Chinese provinces of Sichuan, Shanxi, and Gansu. Then, target language back translated to Chinese. Today, there may be only 100 big pandas. 1,000 big pandas which still remain in the wild state, restricted to certain mountains areas in China's Sichuan, Shanxi, and Gansu. Translation by neutral or less expressive word. Example: the semantic practices we have investigated are hypothesized as an arctic mysticism, then change to target text become sentence. The semantic behavior which we learn, which we have been researching, should likely be considered as ancient mysticism. Then translation by cultural substitution involves replacing a culture, a specific or expression with target language item which does not have the same propositional meaning but is likely to have similar impact on the target reader. Example: the Patrick Collection has restaurant facilities to suit every test from the discerning government to the crime tea expert. And target text become like that. I don't know the accents. Next is translation using a loan or loan plus explanation, particularly common in dealing with culturally specific items, more modern concepts, and buzzwords. Following the loan word with an explanation is very useful when the word is in question is repeated several in the text. Example: morning coffee and traditional creams teas are served in the conservatory. And target text is: the morning coffee and traditional afternoon tea and cream cakes can be enjoyed in the conservatory greenhouse. And you can see in here translation by paraphrase using related word, so that then many types are orders to many types of other strategies and different between the source and the target texts are dealt with subsequent chapter. That's it. Translation by illustration. So this is useful option if the word which lacks an equivalent in the target language refers to a physical entity which can be illustrated. So there is image or something to meaning to sentence. Particularly if there are restrictions on space if the text has to remain short, concise, and to the point. Next I will next That's it. My friend will explain about idiom.
Okay, thank you, Afi. My name is Muhammad Iqbal Zulkarnain. My student ID is 19320010. In here, I will explain about idioms. Firstly, what is the idioms? Idioms are sets expression of two or more words that mean something other than literal meaning of its individual words. So is the words that have different meaning from the real words. The interpretation of idioms. First is, as far idioms are concerned, the first difficulty that a translator comes across is being able to recognize that she or he is dealing with an idiomatic expression. And two is, there are idioms that easily recognizable include expression which violate truth condition, such as "it's raining cats and dogs," throw caution to the winds, storm in at storm in at a teacup, jump down someone's throat, and food for thought. And three example, you must play your cards right to win at the game of life. That is the interpretation of idioms. And next is the other figurative language. Figurative language have what is that? Have many kind. In here I will tell you the figurative language, the six figurative language in generally. And before we go to that, I will explain what is the figurative language is. Figurative language is the use of descriptive words, phrases, and sentences to convey a message that means something without directly saying it. So you tell with the words, phrases, or sentences that descriptively and without directly saying the means of your thought like that. It's creative wording used to build imagery to deepen the audience understanding and help provide power to words by using different emotional, visual, and sensory connection. And the figurative language, this is the kind of figurative language. First is simile. A simile is a figure of speech that compares two unlike things and use the words like or as, and they are commonly used in everyday communication. A simile is used with the aim of sparking an interesting connection in the reader's mind. And the example of simile is that boy is as tall as a giraffe. Giraffe. And next is metaphor. Metaphor is a statement that compares two things that are not alike. So there are two things have a different meaning. Unlike similes, metaphors do not use the words like or as. Such statements only make sense when the reader understands the connection between the two things being compared. Example, life is a highway. Life with a highway is not same, but I think that is have a same meaning in the what is that intrinsic. Life is a long journey in the word. Highway is a long road in the word. So la- life is a highway. That means life is a long road before we go to death, like that. Hyperbole. Hyperbole is an exaggeration that is created to emphasize a point or bring out the sense of humor. It is often used in everyday conversation without the speaker noticing it. The exaggeration is so outrageous that no one would believe that it is true. It is used to add depth and color to a statement. Example, therein are so slender that the wind can carry her away. So it's like the words is morally it's like you use the more words to say the simple thing, more color and more have a depth meaning. Next is personification. Personification is the attribution of human characteristic to non-living objects. Using personification affects the way readers imagine things and it sparks an interest in the subject. The non-living object is like the sun, water, and anything non-living objects. Uh, the writer make it alive, like the sun is smiling at me. The sun is a non-living object, but he have a soul in the story. So that is the personification. Next is synecdoche. Synecdoche is a type of figurative language that uses one part to refer to the whole, or the whole to refer to the part. Example, head can refer to counting cattle or people, one man, two men, three men, and the cattle is one cattle, two cattle, three cattle, and anything like that. Next is onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is language that names something or an action by imitating the sound associated with it. They add some reality to the writing. It's like the truck engine roared as it climbed the hill, and imitating the sound is in here is roared, like what is that? Tiger roar like that. So the engine have a loud song, and that is the disturbing the people like that. So the truck engine is roared, so have a loud sound like that. Okay, that is the explanation about idioms and other figurative language. Thank you. My name is Muhammad Iqbal Zulkarnain, and my two of my friends, Darin and Afi. Thank you. Say thank you to you to for your attention, and I will say thank you to you. I'm sorry if we have a mistake. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.